So welcome to a new video. It's been a while, but we have something to review. Last time when we talked about it, I think they announced the Prime 135 and this Bluetooth remote. And I'm actually more excited about this Bluetooth remote because I think it opens the way in the future to more applications and more users. I will get back to it, but I didn't see any review yet, at least not any in English, and also no unboxing. So I will do a quick unboxing and show you how it works. Now I already found out some weirdness when I'm using the HDMI output, and I can't show you everything. So the way that we are now going to show it is a little bit hampered by the fact that I'm also recording it at the same time. But let's look at the product. It's a remote control, so there's not much kinky stuff going on. Comes in a box. It has some manuals. In the manual they explain quite nicely how to get it up and running. Basically you have to hold two buttons for 7 seconds and then it starts pairing with your camera. I paired it with the a7riii and it took me like 5 seconds, so that works fine. So if you look at the remote, let's do that first. You'll see there's several buttons on there. So basically a plus and a minus button that you can use to zoom in and zoom out and focus. That's a very important feature. Shutter button, one step, or record button. It doesn't have a two-step, but I guess that's also the reason why they put an AF on button there. I use back button focus, so I could not tell you. I wouldn't say it's only for a movie taking, but I do think that's the main aim. And then we have a C1 button. On the side we have a lock feature so that you can lock it. And on the other side, and that's the important part of why I was excited, so let me hold it up a bit. You can see that next to the zoom and there's also a focus mode. So that means that in the Bluetooth protocol and probably also in the Wi-Fi protocol, they now allow for two new features that were not possible before. The first one is that we can actually zoom again, or sorry, focus again over the protocol. We could already zoom in and out, but we could not focus, so I'll show that. And it means that you can program the buttons, which is also something new. On the old Sony remotes, which of course are not Bluetooth, which is also an important thing, you could not program them, and that makes them way more powerful. Why am I so excited about this product? Not because it's perfect. It's about 70 euros, I think. So it's quite expensive, but I'm pretty sure there will be knockoffs and other ones. But I think in the protocol, most likely they did not just stop with supporting the C1 and the C2, sorry, the AF on and the C1 button, but I think there's a pretty good chance that more is possible in the protocol. So that's why I was so excited about this release, because it means that things like phones, which of course also have Bluetooth, but also other remote controls can now start talking to this Bluetooth protocol and do more stuff. For example, I can imagine a remote control with 5 or 6 programmable buttons, so that they take over the C1, the C2, C3 and the C4 button, for example, depending of course on the camera. So I will try to do this as nicely as possible, but I have to admit that we have to fiddle around a tiny bit with the aim of the cameras to show you what is happening. So let's turn it on, and you see the back of the camera on your left side of the screen, and on this side the one that I can show you the remote. I have to do it this way because some of the features otherwise are really difficult to sort of showcase. So in this case you can see I'm in the back of the back of the camera. I will zoom in a tiny bit more, so let me get up and change that while I'm talking. I will be my normal self, so like always, it can be a bit messy. So here we are, we see the back of the camera, and we can see the remote control if I hold it like this. So let's go through the full features. I put it in movie mode, and let's go to the features that you kind of expect. Now, one really nice feature already. Well, let me first talk about the last button. So there's a movie button, still button. What it does is that it allows you to basically say what this button does. So does it do a photo click or does it start a video recording? Now I and many others already have, in movie mode at least, my shutter button is already my movie start and stop button. If I hit it, you see it starts the recording. If I stop it, it stops recording. So this was already doing that. So in that case, that button does not do too much. But as you can see, if I press this button, it indeed starts the recording. Cool. It also does something. It keeps this red light on. So now we have a tele light, which is of course very nice. So if we are in front of the camera, we now have a tele light, which yeah, so you can see that you are actually recording even if you don't see the screen. So that's already quite a nice feature. Now, first let me put it on zoom. So you can now see that it's on zoom mode. And you can see that the camera, even though I'm using a prime, so it does the normal, yeah, I would say normal zoom function that it does. That means that even if you put it on a prime and you turn clear zoom on, and I even allow for digital zoom now, which you can argue if it's good or bad. I have no deep opinions about it, it's up to everybody. But it will go from optical zoom, if your lens supports it, to clear zoom and then into this digital zoom. Now, since I don't have a power zoom on it, I have a 24 1.4 on it, because that means that I can show you how the focusing is working. But you can see that if I use these buttons, the remote will indeed zoom in and zoom out. So let's go to our target. Hopefully the screen is then, can also move the little target, I guess. Let me do that. Hopefully it wasn't drop. Normally it does that. Oh, come on, keep standing, you can do it. Well, there it is. Not sure if we can still get it in focus, but we will see. But you can see that I can zoom in and zoom out and quite smoothly go to the whole range, which is nice. All right. Then the second thing which you can do is you can program the buttons. So in this case, this is quite important because it does have this focus option here. Now, of course, if you're in autofocus, then that doesn't help you too much because you can try to focus but nothing happens. So my C1 button, when I'm in movie mode, will switch me from continuous focus to manual focus, and you can see that happening because you see that, let me try to put it over there and see if it can focus there. Nope, it doesn't want to focus, so let's focus on the wall, which is also not too bad. So let's focus here, and then if I go to autofocus, it should automatically try to focus there, which it's not doing because I'm still manual. Okay, but you can see that that you can go to automatic focus. So basically what I want to show you, if I press this button, it will normally go from manual focus to continuous focus, right? And what it means that you can now do is that since this is my C1 button, I also have the C1 button on my remote. So I can hit the remote and you can see that we go from automatic focus. Really should put something there and put it in a somewhat useful mode and see what it does. So there it goes. Makes more sense this way. Sorry about that. But you can see if I now switch it off, you see the peaking starting to turn on. So that means that we are in an we are in manual focus. You can also see that the same thing now happens if I press the button on the remote. So that means that, and I think that's why the next feature which I'm going to show you, they made it a tiny bit, let's say, slow. You can see that if I'm in manual focus and I put this on side button on focus, that I can actually change the focus. You can see now the peaking goes away, but you can see it's very gentle, very gentle. It's so gentle that if I aim it for the wall, then you can see it sort of roll over how gently it does this. So this might make some people very happy, because that means that if you're in autofocus, which you of course can now do like this again, it will go back into this autofocus mode. But if it's a tiny bit off, you can now of course hit the C1 button and just adjust it a slight bit if you feel that it's off. Maybe there are some settings that you can control the speed of how fast it does this, but it does work. And I think that's a very important sort of feature. So if I put it back in manual mode, let's show you one more time. See, if I'm in manual mode, I can, using the remote, roll my focus. And of course, if I, let's say I want to aim for the wall, let me go all the way to the little doll. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry about that. In photo mode, of course, it shows you the focal point, which it doesn't happen in video mode. So it should slowly but surely find its way. There it goes into the little doll, right? And of course, if I now hit C1, it will go into continuous focus again, and you can see that indeed that's what it did. So that's very nice. And of course, you can still use your zoom function, so you can move this quite quickly back with this hand and then decide to start zooming in and zooming out. Of course, in this case, the autofocus is even more important, and it decided now to focus on that. So you could theoretically then change it back to where you want it. So it's a little bit, you need to probably practice with it. But I can totally see, especially YouTubers or people who are in front of the camera. Of course, now you can still attach your phone to look at least you can now control your focus and you can program some of these buttons. So what did I use the second button for, which I think is kind of interesting. So let me put it back into autofocus, and there it goes again, as you can see. Aim it a bit, aim it a bit like this. Let me aim it back so that you can see it a bit better and move the target. So here we go. So you can see that if the other button, so the AF on button, I actually programmed that to do the crop in, crop out mode, right? So you can quickly, of course, you can decide to put any feature on it, but I think it was quite nice to sort of say, okay, let's put it in this crop mode or not crop mode. But of course you can also use it for any other feature. But that's kind of it. As you can see, it works. And I can combine these things, so in crop mode and still zoom in, zoom out. Of course, then it wouldn't say it's useless, but it has a different use scenario. And then again, if I want to change the focus, I can just do the side button like this and start rolling off my focus slowly. And now it also doesn't show you any peaking, which is kind of, yeah, not very handy, but that's what it is. Because I think if you're zoomed in, it doesn't do the focus peaking, or I'm doing something else wrong. Oh, I was still in continuous. So let me zoom in first, quite tight, and then switch it to focus. And you can see, yeah, it's rolling off and on the focus. And I can of course still jump back out of crop mode by pressing this button at any zoom level, so that's kind of nice. So I'm not sure what else to show you. This is kind of it. Of course, I didn't test it how long it will, goes. Also, but this might be a 3.0 feature. You could not change aspect ratio, or sorry, crop or non-crop when you're filming. I'm guessing that still not works, so let's try that. So hit record, so it starts recording, and indeed this button doesn't do anything now. But it was like that before, right? So the only trick around that is basically to go to full frame mode, so like this, right? And then use record and then use the zoom in, the zoom out. Just to be complete, let's test if it still works, both functions. So focus still works, as you can clearly see when I'm recording, which makes sense. And let's also make sure that zooming still works. Yep, zooming still works. So these features both are active. Now I think, but I'm not sure, that if you're in the menu, I'm guessing, let me first test the FN menu. There it is. Then we still have a connection, so that's not a problem. I would not be surprised if we are in this menu. So the normal menu. I'm not sure why the camera is so slow. It doesn't want to go into menu. Is that normal when you are recording, that you can't go to menu anymore? Or is that a new thing? I can go to my F menu. I'm not sure actually. So let me take it out of recording. Then I can go to menu. Well, actually, I don't use the a7riii for video a lot. So this might be normal or 3.0 feature, because if you're recording, you can't go into the menu anymore. But you can use the event menu and use the features that you have there. Right, so set your audio levels, etc, etc. One thing that would be nice, I haven't tried this and I don't think that will work, is that you can maybe, no, you see, I was sort of hoping that if you are in a certain feature, like if you are, for example, like I was trying now, I put it in the volume control, right, that if I would use the plus and the minus, it will actually do volume control. No, but it just jumps back, which I guess is also a safe way to do it, because you always know that this indeed is controlling your zoom in and zoom out, and this is controlling your focus. I have to look in a manual if you can actually set the speed of this feature. I also noticed, maybe I'm wrong, but if you're in photo mode, so that's the last thing that we can show. Of course, it works the same way, but my gut feeling is, of course, if I now do focus, you can see that it actually shows me the focus bar in the bottom, right? Which you don't see in video mode, but it's normal. And the zoom mode also will now probably give me an error. Yeah, because I'm recording in RAW and then you can't use the optical zoom. So that makes, sorry, the digital zoom. So it actually makes sense. Now it would be fun if I can get this way. Of course, my AF on button should now work in its normal way. But I'm in manual, so let me take it out of manual. Which now throws me up the menu. This is kind of funny. So it now throws up my menu, and there's no way for me to navigate it. So there are some things that you have to be careful with when you program it. You see, because I can now, but I have to go back to the camera to actually physically put it like that. Of course you can program it differently, but will it movie mode? I am not in movie mode, though. Yeah. So now it should take a picture, I hope. Invalid in this mode because now it's, oh, okay. So this does override kind of this button. So if I put it like this, it will probably take a picture. Yeah. That works. So that's it, I think, for this small and quick review. So hopefully this was semi-useful for you. I think, like I said before, I think this is kind of an interesting product because, well, it works. It might actually, if you combine it with a new Rode, for example, and I will probably make this test pretty soon. So let's move to this camera. I will probably put a phone on top of this with the Film Monitor app, which works very well. And now in combination with this small remote, I can actually see that YouTubers have more options to, even if they are behind the camera, because you can of course keep the remote out of sight, to see some extra things, right? Is the camera recording? have a few buttons to force it into doing an autofocus. You be able to change the focus slightly or put some other features on there, and of course be able to zoom in and to be able to zoom out and while you are doing it. So don't think it's a bad product. I think it's kind of nice, maybe a bit too expensive, and I'm hoping it's the first in a line of products that using this new protocol part. So see you in the next one. Bye bye.